Being AI savvy is not a nice to have. It really is a must have. And if you're not ahead of the curve, you're behind the curve.
That's Ash Ravi. He realized that since AI makes building products easier, people are more important than ever. And his startup, HireHarbour, pairs every founder or exec with the perfect assistant for them.
We wanted to do was make sure the fit between the client and the EA was as bespoke as possible.
Even AI startups.
Our biggest badge of honor is the fact that a number of AI startups use us.
But the HireHarbour story starts, believe it or not, with oil rigs. Ash went to school for chemical engineering in the UK, but the traditional post-university path wasn't for him.
Working on an offshore oil rig was very much middle of the fairway for a chemical engineer. But I quickly realized I don't necessarily want to spend 6 months of the year on oil rigs. You're filled with doubt as to, why did I do chemical engineering in the first place? Why did I even do this? Did I not think this out kind of well enough?
So instead of working in the industrial sector, he used his knowledge to execute trades within it.
Did a lot of industrials M&A at Barclays and Morgan Stanley. Going from chemical engineering into finance, it was very much treading water that I was not used to. And the learning curve was super steep.
In private equity, he was working 80+ hour weeks. It just wasn't sustainable.
For example, I didn't get a weekend really for the first 6 months of my career.
So when he started seeing his colleagues hire EAs, he knew that this was the unlock he needed.
It was like night and day. Just kind of having someone who's able to save hours off your day on a daily basis to not having that was jarring.
But even with better balance due to his EA, he still felt unfulfilled.
With investment banking, the learning curve ascends very quickly, but it kind of reaches that rate of diminishing returns where you're kind of leveling up for a very, very long time. There's a point about 18 months in when you end up doing a lot of repetitive tasks. And I think any investment banker you speak to can attest to this. Once you get past the 18-month mark, you're pretty much just repeating what you did before.
So he moved from IB to PE at a mid-market private equity firm in London.
What I loved about that is you could sit across the table with the CEO on day one. I think that's where my affinity to become a founder probably came from.
And soon enough, he got the itch to start a company himself. He realized that the same problem he'd solved for himself at Morgan Stanley is one that he could solve for thousands of other busy founders and execs.
We wanted to find something that we would use ourselves.
But being a solo founder and also a first-time founder puts a ton of risk into any business. So Ash did the smart thing and reconnected with an old buddy from university, Aman Chandhook. And Aman also brought in Tong Shi.
Aman went to the same uni as me, and we spoke a bit during uni. We'd known each other for decades.
The three became co-founders. And while they knew their market, their model wasn't immediately obvious.
So when we started off, we thought we would be just a recruiting firm. We would have no training, we'd have no subscription. We would very literally be a recruiting firm that places people into certain roles.
But pretty quickly, they realized there was an easy way to differentiate and deliver a better experience.
One of the wisest things that someone's told me is hire slowly, fire quickly. You have a bunch of competitors who are saying that, we can place someone off the shelf within a week. It's a very hot market, very competitive market. Well, we all realized what was missing, and that is that kind of bespoke fit. That one-to-one fit between what you're looking for and what you get.
It makes sense. Your priority is to find the best person for your startup. But for most hiring agencies, it's to fill a role quickly so they can move on to the next one. And existing placement agencies prefer to fill full-time roles since they command higher salaries and therefore higher billings for them. But Ash took HireHarbour in a different direction that more closely matches the way startups operate today.
We found a lot of these great EA businesses. They place great candidates, but they were always on a full-time basis, or they were on like a couple of hours per week. We're more than happy to put effort and money and bluntly lose margin on finding the right fit and making sure that they're happy than it is necessarily to just rush into things.
HireHarbour's vetting process for potential EAs is intense.
First is resume review. We're talking kind of a few thousand CVs screened for maybe 3 or 4 people put in front of clients. We do a communication and personality assessment, giving them a verbal case study or giving them an email case study. Then we make them go through an aptitude test. It tests attention to detail, and we have our first round interview. If they've passed that stage, they go to case study, and that case study involves something related to what the client wants. After the case study, you have a final interview, and then last thing is the vetting. Vetting's kind of behind the scenes, background check, criminal record checks, all of that stuff.
But it's not just about vetting and placing the EA. It's also about consistently training them up on the latest AI tools to give founders maximum leverage. Ash realized that with the rise of AI, new tooling would make it possible for founders and execs to delegate tasks that they previously couldn't.
Each of our EAs go through specific AI training. We want HireHarbour to be the source of the cutting edge AI tools that they find out about. The clients themselves learn to be better delegators. I strongly believe that AI is here to complement our service. AI with human judgment is the holy grail we're going for.
HireHarbor's strategy is working, and they're placing an increasing number of EAs every quarter, and it's just the beginning for what they want to achieve.
We think there's a massive gap in the market for what we're providing, and the proof is in the pudding. Genuinely, the thing that's worked most for us and the stickiest customers has been word of mouth. And people are happy with what they see, and they want to tell their friends about what they like.